Are you in control of your life? Or are you a puppet, dancing on strings you can't even see? It's a confrontational question, but it's one we have to ask. Most people think they're free. They believe their thoughts are their own. Their desires are born from within, and their future is a product of their own will. And yet, they move in predictable patterns, chase goals they never really chose, and live out scripts they never agreed to write. They are puppets in a grand theater, playing a role assigned to them by forces they don't even comprehend. Culture, media, education, society itself. These are the invisible hands pulling the strings, shaping every single reaction, ambition, and belief. You feel this pull as a constant, low-grade anxiety, a sense of being stuck, of living a life that isn't quite yours. It's the quiet frustration of knowing you're capable of more, yet finding yourself walking down a path that feels completely predetermined. This is the condition of the puppet. But what if you could see the strings? What if you could not only see them, but start to understand the mechanics of the entire stage? What if you could learn to sever the lines that bind you and for the first time, take real control? This isn't a metaphor for rebellion. It's a blueprint for sovereignty. It's about moving from a state of passive reaction to one of conscious creation. This is an exposé of the 7 levels of power, a framework inspired by the ruthless pragmatism of Machiavelli. By the end of our journey today, you will have the knowledge to see the strings, to understand the game, and to finally decide. Will you remain the puppet, or will you become the puppeteer? Most people are born, live, and die on level 1. They're born into a system of control, live their lives as cogs in a machine they don't understand, and die without ever realizing they were asleep the whole time. They function as batteries, powering a world built by others, believing their exhaustion is just a sign of a life well lived. This is the default state of humanity. It's comfortable, it's predictable, and it's a prison without walls. Today we begin the Great Escape. The fundamental problem is a lack of awareness. Social conditioning isn't some dramatic event. It's a slow, silent drip of messages that starts the moment we're born. Our families, our schools, the media we consume, they all install programs into our minds. These programs dictate what's normal, what's successful, what's good, and what's bad. We get praised for fitting in and subtly punished for being different. We internalize the belief that our worth is tied to our productivity, that happiness depends on external validation, or that only certain career paths are acceptable. The result? A life lived on autopilot. You wake up, go to work, consume, sleep, repeat. You adopt opinions you hear on the news and chase lifestyles you see on social media. You mistake the echo of other people's ideas in your head for your own thoughts. You think you're making choices, but you're just selecting from a menu of pre-approved options. This illusion of choice is the most sophisticated string of all, making you feel free even as you're guided into a predetermined box. This creates a deep, gnawing agitation. It shows up as that feeling of quiet desperation, a sense that you're an actor playing a role you never auditioned for. You feel the weight of expectations from your parents, your boss, and society. These expectations are the strings, and their constant pull is exhausting. You might even be successful by normal standards, but still feel aimless. That's because the goals you achieved were never really your own. They were programmed into you. You climbed a ladder, only to realize it was leaning against the wrong damn wall. The pain of being a puppet is the pain of an unlived life. It's the sorrow of realizing, maybe too late, that you were never the author of your own story. You were just a character in someone else's. You were told to be practical, to be realistic, to play it safe. And in doing so, you traded your potential for security. You allowed the fear of judgment to crush your desire for authenticity. The system doesn't punish you with force, it seduces you with comfort. It offers the warm lie of belonging in exchange for the cold truth of standing alone. This is the state of the vast majority. Good people, working hard, trying their best. But they're operating inside a system designed to keep them compliant, predictable, and controllable. They are the gears, the cogs, the batteries for a machine whose purpose they will never be told. They are the puppets. But it doesn't have to be this way. The chains of social conditioning can be broken. The invisible strings can be made visible. There is a hidden architecture of power, a ladder you can climb to reclaim your own life. That's the promise of today's journey. We will dissect the 7 levels of power, a map that leads from unconscious servitude to absolute self-sovereignty. This isn't about learning to manipulate others for selfish gain, though these tools could be used that way. It's about understanding the dynamics of control so you're no longer a victim of them. It's about achieving personal agency, the power to make your own choices and direct your own life. Each level represents a profound shift in consciousness, a new way of seeing the world and your place in it. As we ascend, we'll move from being a pawn in the game to becoming the player, and ultimately, to becoming the designer of the game itself. The powerful have understood this for centuries, often keeping it hidden and speaking only in code. Machiavelli wrote about it in The Prince, not as a moral guide, but as a practical manual for how power really works. He understood that to survive, you can't always afford to be good, especially when surrounded by those who aren't. Today, we pull back that curtain. We're giving you the key to your own cage. Your job is to find the courage to turn it. Level 1. The sleeper, the automaton. The first and most crowded level is the sleeper, the automaton. This is the default state of human consciousness, where almost everyone starts. A sleeper isn't stupid. They might be highly educated and hardworking, but they are fundamentally unconscious. They're running on pre-programmed scripts downloaded from their environment since birth. Their beliefs and values are not the result of deep, independent thought. They're echoes of their culture and upbringing. They think their political views are carefully considered, but they're often just repeating talking points from their favorite news channel. They think their life goals, the house, the car, the promotion, are their own deep desires, but they're just the standardized aspirations sold by a consumerist society. The sleeper is a living embodiment of social conditioning. They are a battery for the systems created by those on higher levels. Their labor, their attention, and their compliance fuel a world they had no part in designing. The key trait of a sleeper? They have no idea they're on a level at all. They don't know they're a puppet. They don't even know that strings exist. They see the world in simple terms of right and wrong, good and bad, all defined by authorities they trust. If you question their beliefs, they don't respond with curiosity. They respond with anger or confusion. An attack on their ideas is an attack on their identity because they've never learned to separate the two. The sleeper is motivated by fear and the desire for social acceptance. They're afraid of being different, of being ostracized, of failing to meet the tribe's expectations. This fear keeps them in line, ensuring they never stray from the prescribed path. They find comfort in conformity. They are the normal people, and their primary function is to maintain the status quo. Moving beyond level 1 is the hardest step. It requires a waking up moment, a painful realization that your life has been on autopilot. It demands that you question everything you've been told and face the discomfort of thinking for yourself. Most people will live and die as sleepers, never knowing the freedom they traded for the comfort of a cage. But the moment you truly ask, "Are these thoughts my own?" that is the moment you take your first step off level 1. Level 2. The mimic, the parrot. When a sleeper starts to awaken, they don't instantly become a free thinker. The first stage of rising awareness is level 2, the mimic, or the parrot. The mimic has realized the scripts they were given aren't the only ones out there. So they look around, see other people with other ideas, and start to copy them. The mimic is defined by imitation without real understanding. They can adopt the jargon of a new ideology, the fashion of a new subculture, or the talking points of a charismatic influencer. They've stopped repeating the mantras of their parents and started repeating the mantras of a guru or a pundit. They've just swapped one script for another. They're still not the author. This level is a trap for many who think they're awakened. They confuse rebellion with originality. They might break the rules of their old system, but only to adopt the rules of a new one. They're tearing down one prison wall just to seek shelter inside another. True power doesn't come from breaking rules. It comes from writing them. The mimic is still a performer on a stage. They've just switched costumes. Think about social media trends. A dance, a challenge, a meme. It appears, and millions of mimics rush to replicate it. They do it for the same reason the sleeper conforms. For validation, for belonging, for that fleeting feeling of being in the know. They copy the outer form without ever grasping the substance. The same pattern exists in intellectual circles. The mimic reads a book by a famous philosopher and starts quoting them, adopting their entire worldview as a neat package. They haven't wrestled with the ideas, found the flaws, or integrated the concepts into their own unique philosophy. They're just parroting. It gives them the appearance of intelligence, but it's a hollow facade. The danger of level 2 is that it feels like progress. You're getting new kinds of validation from a group that seems more enlightened. But it's still dependence. Your sense of self is still outsourced. To get past this level, you have to move from imitation to integration. It's not enough to copy what others say. You have to ask why they say it. You must deconstruct their ideas to understand the fundamental principles. The mimic copies the recipe. The next level learns how to cook. Level 3, the calculator, the fox. Level 3 marks a huge leap in strategic thought. This is the realm of the calculator, or the fox. As Machiavelli advised, the fox is a creature of cunning. Unlike the sleeper and the mimic, the calculator knows they're in a game. They see the board, the pieces, and the invisible rules that govern everyone's movements. But critically, they're still playing by rules set by someone else. The calculator is a master of short-term tactics. They can read people and situations, spot hidden motives, and identify opportunities for personal gain. They operate from a place of cynical realism, understanding that most people are driven by self-interest. This gives them a massive edge over the unconscious masses. They're the shrewd employee who knows exactly how to manage their boss for a promotion, the entrepreneur who games social media algorithms for quick growth, or the social chameleon who moves through different circles by saying exactly what each group wants to hear. This level is all about the Machiavellian scanner. They are constantly assessing power dynamics, leverage, risks, and rewards. They listen more to what isn't said than what is. They prioritize what's effective over what's right, taking a pragmatic, amoral approach to hitting their targets. They aren't necessarily evil. They just see the world as a system of inputs and outputs, and they're good at providing the right inputs. But the calculator's power has a ceiling. They master exploitation, not creation. They're playing a game someone else designed, on a board someone else built. They can win battles, but they can't win the war because they don't control the structure of the conflict. Their intelligence is tactical, not strategic. They're focused on the next move, the next quarter, the next social win. This makes them vulnerable to larger, systemic shifts they can't see coming. The calculator thrives in environments with clear, unspoken rules, like office politics. But their influence doesn't scale well. They have to be physically present to work their magic, constantly observing and reacting. In a way, they're a high-level puppet, just one that's learned to pull its own strings to get a little more slack. To rise from level 3, the calculator must shift from exploitation to generation. They have to stop asking, "How do I win this game?" and start asking, "How can I change the game itself?" This means moving away from short-term opportunism toward a long-term vision. The fox is clever, but it's always reacting to the landscape. The next level begins to shape the landscape itself. Level 4, the operator, the lion. Welcome to Level 4, the domain of the operator, the lion. This is the first level where true generative power emerges. While the fox exploits the system, the lion imposes its will on the system to create something new. Machiavelli said, "A ruler needs to be a fox to spot the traps, and a lion to scare off the wolves." Level 4 is the lion. The operator is a figure of direct power. They are the builders, the managers, the leaders who take responsibility and get things done through overt force and command. They don't subtly manipulate. They give orders. They don't play by the rules. They enforce them. This is the demanding CEO, the decisive general, the founder who builds a company through sheer force of will. Their motto isn't, "How can I use this?" but "How can I build this?" At this level, influence comes from raw competence, authority, and the willingness to take charge. Operators create systems, teams, and products. They are active, shaping a piece of their environment instead of just reacting to it. They've moved beyond just playing the game and are now acting as the game master for their own small domain. However, the operator's power has a fatal flaw. It's obvious. Direct power always creates resistance. Employees resent a dictatorial boss, and citizens rebel against an authoritarian ruler. The lion's roar is terrifying, but it also alerts everyone to its presence and intentions. This makes the operator a constant target. Furthermore, the operator's power is hard to scale because it depends on their personal energy. They have to be in the room to make the call, on the front lines to lead the charge. Their control is directly tied to their ability to oversee everything personally. This leads straight to burnout and creates a bottleneck. The system they build can never grow beyond their personal capacity to manage it. Their greatest strength is also their greatest limitation. To move past level 4, the operator must learn that true, lasting power isn't held through force, but through influence. They have to evolve from the lion, which rules by its presence, to something far more elusive. They have to learn to control without commanding, to lead without being seen. It is the difficult transition from being the king on the chessboard to being the hand that moves the pieces from off the board entirely. Level 5, the puppeteer, the ghost. This is the level where the title of this journey becomes reality. Level 5 is the realm of the puppeteer, the ghost. This is the most significant leap in the hierarchy. The puppeteer understands the operator's fatal flaw. Direct force creates friction. True power is invisible. The puppeteer never gives a direct order when they can get the same result through suggestion and environmental design. They don't command. They influence. They have mastered the art of making other people want to do what they wanted them to do all along. They are architects of choice. They don't force your hand. They just remove all other attractive options from the table, making your free choice an inevitability. Think of a casino designer. There are no signs saying, "You must gamble away your life savings." Instead, the environment is engineered to produce that outcome. No clocks or windows to make you lose track of time. A confusing layout to keep you inside. The constant sounds of slot machines creating an atmosphere of winning, even when the math guarantees the house always wins. The players think they're making their own choices, but they're operating in a system designed to lead them to one conclusion. The casino designer is a level 5 puppeteer. The puppeteer operates with immense patience. They aren't interested in the quick win of the fox or the loud victory of the lion. They are planting seeds that will bloom months or years from now. They might drop an idea into a conversation, knowing it will be rejected at first, but confident it will be subconsciously adopted and later presented by someone else as their own original thought. This gives the puppeteer plausible deniability and makes their ideas far more powerful. This level of influence scales infinitely because it's not tied to the puppeteer's presence. They can shape a company's culture through a few well-placed whispers, or by promoting people who embody the values they want to see. They influence public opinion, not by giving speeches, but by shaping the narratives that journalists and influencers then spread. Their weapon isn't the sword, it's the story. Their power isn't a throne, but the role of the advisor whispering in the king's ear. The puppeteer is a ghost in the machine. They get what they want without leaving fingerprints. This makes them almost impossible to fight because you can't attack an enemy you can't see. To get past this level, one must go even bigger. The puppeteer is still focused on the pieces. The next level isn't interested in the pieces at all. The next level is interested in the board itself. Level 6, the architect, the system builder. If the puppeteer pulls the strings, the architect at level 6 builds the entire theater. This is the system builder. The architect isn't interested in controlling people directly. Their ambition is grander. They design the enduring structures, rules, and ideologies that shape reality for everyone else. They build the matrix itself. The architect has transcended the ego's need for personal glory. They willingly abandon it, knowing that true power lies in creating systems that outlive any single person. The puppeteer might influence an election. The architect writes the Constitution. The puppeteer might guide a company to a great quarter. The architect builds a corporate culture that guides the company for decades. Think of the founders of major religions, the creators of economic theories like capitalism, or the designers of global technology platforms. They created systems of belief and behavior that now guide billions of people who have no idea who the original architect even was. The system itself becomes the power. Their influence is so deep in the fabric of society that it's no longer seen as influence, it's just the way things are. The architect is playing an infinite game. They think in generations, not years. They understand that if you define the rules of the game, the values of the culture, and the language people use, you never have to worry about the outcome of any single play. You've already won before the game even starts. This is the level where you rewrite the code of society. You create the financial instruments, legal frameworks, and belief systems that define the boundaries of what's possible for everyone else. The architect builds the casino. They don't need to worry about who's winning at any given table on any given night. The structure they built ensures that, over the long run, the house always wins. The power of the architect is nearly absolute within their system, but it's also impersonal. They are no longer a player in the game, but have become a law of nature within it. What then is left? The only remaining territory to conquer is the world within. Level 7. The Void, the Sovereign. The final ascent is to Level 7. The Void, the Sovereign. This is the highest level of power, a state so advanced it's almost a spiritual attainment. If the architect builds the matrix, the sovereign is the one who can see the code and chooses to simply unplug. The sovereign has achieved ultimate detachment. They are no longer defined by the game in any way, not as a puppet, a player, or even a designer. They have mastered the external world to such a degree that it holds no power over them. Their validation, security, and purpose are generated entirely from within. They have achieved complete internal sovereignty. This is not apathy or nihilism. It is a state of supreme freedom. The sovereign is not bound by the need to control others or to build systems. They act in the world, but are not of it. Their actions are born from a place of pure, uncoerced will, completely detached from the outcome. Their sense of self is not tied to the success or failure of their worldly projects. A person at this level operates beyond conventional motives. They're not driven by money, fame, or influence because they see those things for what they are. Parts of a game they no longer need to play. This is the ultimate Machiavellian transcendence. The sovereign has so thoroughly mastered the principles of power that they no longer need them. They are unassailable, not because they built impenetrable walls, but because there is nothing left to attack. Their fortress is internal. Finding examples of true Level 7 sovereigns is nearly impossible, as they rarely seek the spotlight. They are not the famous billionaires or kings who are still slaves to public perception and the systems they command. The sovereign could be a reclusive philosopher, a master of their craft, or an anonymous figure who walks through the world with a quiet power that comes from having nothing to prove and nothing to lose. Reaching this level is the final severing of all strings, external and internal. It is the realization that the ultimate power is not the ability to control the world, but the ability to be completely free from its control. It is to be the puppeteer of your own consciousness. You're no longer playing the game. You are the game, and you are free. We've journeyed through the 7 levels of power, from unconscious servitude to ultimate freedom. Level 1, the sleeper. The unconscious puppet, a battery for the system. Level 2, the mimic. The parrot who copies others, mistaking imitation for authenticity. Level 3, the calculator. The cunning fox who plays the game for short-term wins. Level 4, the operator. The powerful lion who builds and commands through direct force. Level 5, the puppeteer. The invisible ghost who controls through influence and suggestion. Level 6, the architect. The system builder who designs the rules and structures of reality itself. Level 7, the sovereign. The one who unplugs from the game entirely, achieving total internal freedom. This is the ladder of ascension, from an object to a subject to a force, and finally, to a state of pure being. You have the map. You now have the knowledge that separates the puppets from the puppeteers. The invisible strings are no longer invisible to you. You can see these levels playing out all around you, at your job, in the media, in your own thoughts. This awareness is the first and most critical step. You can't change a game you don't know you're playing. Now, you have a choice. The most dangerous thing you can do is hear this. Call it an interesting idea, and let yourself slip back to sleep. That is the path most will take, but it doesn't have to be your path. The journey upward isn't easy. It requires ruthless self-honesty and a willingness to question your most cherished beliefs. It requires you to get comfortable with being different, because your freedom will be a mirror that exposes the captivity of others. The system will not celebrate your escape. It will try to pull you back in. Start small. Ask yourself today, where in my life am I a sleeper? Where am I just a mimic? Where am I playing a short-term game as a calculator? Where can I start to take real control as an operator? This is not a call to manipulate. It is a call to reclaim your agency. It's a challenge to stop being a character in someone else's story and finally become the author of your own. The goal isn't power over others, but power over yourself. The ultimate prize is not a kingdom, but sovereignty over your own mind. Your first step is to consciously choose. So ask yourself and answer honestly. Which level are you on right now? If this journey resonated with you, subscribe for more content on mastering your reality. Now, go to the comments and make a commitment to yourself. Right. I will see the strings. It is a declaration, a first act on the path to becoming the master of your own destiny.